That's from Steven Universe. I can't really take credit for it.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we are
Yeah.
streaming now.
Well, good to know, because I'm Jack,
Yay!
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Lauren.
and we are Glib Shark. We have a great deal to talk about, and a guest actually waiting in the wings who we'll talk to in a little bit. But first, as always, maybe not today at first, but it turns out now we do. We have the lovely, the talented, the amazing Obo Crazy. I mean, she was going to be here no matter what. Let me get that part clear. But today she actually is here to do something we call This Week in Geek. How are you, Lauren?
So here's the problem. I haven't been sent that article yet.
Uh-oh.
What did Jules say it was about? It was I wasn't expecting.
It was a species of dinosaur that was named after D&D. Hang on, let me grab it.
Yeah, so it's a user-submitted fact. Although, does it really count as user-submitted if it's not submitted?
Well, so here's the thing. I wasn't going to do a This Week in Geek this week because we have other more important things to talk about. We started a little bit late. And then friend of the show, as we like to say, Jules, who you all know from Dungeons and Dragons and Drunk, said, oh, but you have to talk about this article that I saw and where they named, I guess, a dinosaur after a D&D character. And I went, well, I kind of have to talk about that. So she was going to send me the link to the article, and I just haven't gotten it yet, which is probably my fault, but that's okay. So yeah, maybe we'll just go on with our lives. And that's all for This Week in Geek. I'm Obo Crazy, and sometimes phones suck.
Wow.
I'll look it up while we're doing this, but
in the meantime, the world is indeed a strange place, as you almost saw just now. If you have a fact you want read live and on the air, you should send it to Lauren at obocrazy.com, and while you're at it, go to glibshark.com, which is our website. That's where you can go to get past episodes of classic late-night Jenga Jam, like the one where Mike and Matt Chapman from Homestar Runner, remember that? We're on very early on in the proceedings, almost 10 years ago. All-time buttcast. We get to see internet luminaries like Barbara Dunkelman, Mary Sarah Duke McDowell, and so on and so forth in their early primordial days. Modern day Glib Shark would just see us talk and shoot the breeze and be awesome. And then, of course, Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks, the house of all of our content. But that is enough vamping for now. Were we able to find that article, or do we need to vamp some more? Because I got a story.
I found an article from December about a newly discovered spider species that got named after the Harry Potter sorting hat, which is not quite D&D or dinosaurs, but
it could work.
Yeah. So if you take a look at this picture of the spider that they're talking about, it really does look like this thing is a sorting hat. It's a little weird. It's got the same shape and everything. 3 scientists in India discovered the new spider species and named it after the enchanted hat after noticing the striking similarities. The species is called, oh god, here we go, Exrovasiga gryffindori, after the hat's original owner, which is Godric Gryffindor. In the book, the sorting hat designates which house you end up in when you go to the magical school of Hogwarts. So this uniquely shaped spider derives its name from the fabulous, sentient, magical artifact, the sorting hat. And because when scientists discover a species, they get to name it. And it's probably no surprise, but scientists are geeks, and they love that kind of thing. Yeah, so definitely go check it out. This is an article from back in December, so really not that far ago, but you can look it up, and it is I have to say, it's a striking similarity, although nobody who put on the hat then turned into a spider or got sorted into a spider house. So I'm a little disappointed, but, Exrovisica gryffindori, welcome to the world.
And now I'm caught up. I feel great. I learned something that I did not know previous to today. And that's the knowledge we pass on to you, the listener, or the viewer, free of charge.
For just one Google search a month, you too can have all the information on the internet.
That's right. Or DuckDuckGo. whatever your
Duck Grey Duck? Is that what you're talking about?
Is that a search? I thought it was called DuckDuckGo, or they changed their name there.
I don't know. I was just referring to the popular game that's actually Duck Duck Goose, but for some fucking reason, people up north like to call it Duck Duck Grey Duck.
I've never. No, it's Duck Duck Goose. I'm from up north. I'm pretty far up north
I
as it is.
I
I've never heard it
have
called that.
I have heard of Duck Duck Grey Duck. We in my mythical land of Buffalo would play Duck Duck Goose, but I have heard of Duck Duck Grey Duck. So he is not making that up.
See, now I have to ask my adopted Buffaloan wife if she's heard of that before. I am
I
going to.
think it's more of a like Michigan come like Minnesotan, Wisconsin northern, not y'all
Ah,
Yankees.
gotcha. So like a transplant for 10 years might not have picked it up, but like early onset Buffaloans might recognize it.
Yeah, it's a Minnesota thing. I just really quickly looked it up, and not that Buffalo is Minnesota, but it's surprising how Western New York is more culturally related to the central United States than to the New York that we are in. And so um yeah, it's always kind of funny whenever I hear people making fun of the Minnesota. I'm like, oh, that's some people from the Buffalo that I know, except it's a little bit of an exaggerated accent. No. So yeah, Duck Duck Grey Duck is a variation played in Minnesota.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all that it has more of a Midwestern flavor or vibe. I just got back from Pittsburgh a couple of days ago. So Pittsburgh is one of those towns that is pretty heavily Midwest influenced or just straight up in the Midwest, even though it's in the same state as Philadelphia, which is more of a decidedly East Coast city. You can get literally anywhere in New Jersey or Delaware from Philly quicker than you get to Pittsburgh. And I think the same is true for Ohio. You can get anywhere in Ohio from Pittsburgh quicker than you get to Philly.
But if you try to leave New Jersey, it'll cost you.
Oh yeah, that's the one state you cannot leave for free. Like we ran into trouble with my wife's Easy Pass, and I had to make sure she had a 5 because we had to go back to
So your
Jersey to
easy pass wasn't easy?
not so easy at all, and that's why we don't buzz market them. Not like so. Yeah, I walked right into that one, didn't I? Yeah, so I had to make sure that my wife had a 5 so she could leave New Jersey after picking up our dog. Who
Or else
is
they
now
won't let you leave.
who's
The
like
mob.
our listening audience. I should point this out before we get into our like important news and announcements and stuff. We're actually using the video option for Skype, which we almost never do for Glib Shark, even though the technology has been there for years. So it's a little different. I get to see you guys, and I get to see our buddy Jason, who's in on the call. How you doing, Jason?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good.
Well, there we go. I guess we should get right into it. I should probably just tag in Jonathan. I'm gonna hold my hand until Jonathan takes it. Tag me in, buddy.
Tagged.
Okay.
So Jason is actually a part of a couple of D&D games that I'm playing, and we'll get to another reason why he's here in just a bit, but it's been a lot of fun, and he has been super patient with the antics of my super dumb former male model paladin, Zoo Lando. Yes, there's a reason why he's called that.
But
After Botsmaster, obviously.
but do you want to give the rundown of what exactly we are doing this Sunday?
Well, so our friend and fellow cast member of Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks, John Sedlak, his family is having some problems right now. His dad has late stage cancer, and John has actually gone to be with his family as his dad has moved to hospice care. It's not a good situation at all. So one thing, given what John loves to do, to try and help out. I guess I should preface it with it's a little tough. His family set up a GoFundMe. There was a project that they wanted to do, something very special for their dad, where he danced with all of his daughters in wedding dresses, and John went up there to help out and to film it, and it was this wonderful thing. But there were costs associated with it, and as well, costs associated with this whole fucking cancer process. It's just awful. So his family set up a GoFundMe, and we'll get to the URL if someone has it handy. I believe it's GoFundMe / Daddy Daughter Dances.
I think so. We'll make sure the link is up, but I'll double check that now.
Okay. and I'm going to go ahead and put that on the stream right now. So one of the things that we wanted to do for this GoFundMe was to bring some attention to it. Social media is definitely a thing, and it can definitely be a powerful tool to help. And to that end, we want to bring some attention to this GoFundMe. It is www.gofundme.com/daddydaughtersdance. What we wanted to do was play a charity Dungeons and Dragons game this Sunday, February 28th, and we'll be kicking off at 1 p.m. Central. We're going to be playing this game with a bunch of our friends, people that you know from Dungeons, Dragons, and Drunks, people you know from the Rooster Teeth community. All of us are going to be playing D&D on a charity stream to bring some awareness to this GoFundMe. Ultimately, the goal is to get some more donations there. This is money that's going to be going to medical expenses, to the burden that his family's under right now, and we want to help. And we figured, along with any money that we've given, this is something that we can do for him and for his family. So the stream is going to be called Heroes of the Heart, and it's going to be hosted on the Glib stream. That's the name of the event. And we're going to try and as much as this sucks, we're going to try and have some fun with him in our hearts and there in spirit. We're going to try and bring some awareness to that GoFundMe. Lauren has volunteered to DM this event, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I am going to be acting as the host and sort of keeping the stream going, because things like to break, and I'm pretty good at fixing stuff, so that's what I'm going to be contributing. But you can see people like Jack Edithel, aka Travancore. You'll see Jules, aka Bernie Q Burns, and you're going to see our guest Jason. He's going to be playing with us. You're going to see a lot of faces that you've probably seen around John, because we're all his friends, and we'll get to some more details here, because there are some perks. But right now, the main thrust of this is what we're doing this Sunday, 1 p.m. Central, and we're gonna hopefully have some fun and also do some good.
And I, for one, am super excited. Is kind of a weird word to use this circumstance. I'm not excited to do a fundraiser for my friend who's in this sort of terrible situation, but I'm glad that I'm able to do something. I'm able to take a tangible difference in their lives, and for someone I actually know. So for those who don't know, like John's dad, Jeff, he did us a solid. Like I've known John since like 2008. And whenever I would go to his house, I was always, very welcome and very gracious. And I could tell it was a happy place. And even in the early years of RT Philly, for those of you who can remember that far back, Jeff did us a solid. The facility that we had a live music for, unfortunately, didn't have the equipment that we needed, and we were stuck. We didn't have the speakers or anything we could use, and it was kind of a mess. And this is early on in my event planning career, so there's stuff I just didn't even process or know. But luckily, John got on the phone, called his dad, and he drove 45 minutes all the way from South Jersey to Center City, Philadelphia, or University City, Philadelphia, to drop off the equipment. And it was no sweat. He didn't seem bothered by it or annoyed by it. He thought it was just cool that what we were doing. And he was full of questions, just asked me all kinds of stuff about the attendance and what it was. And just the guy was true blue. And to even think that there's, about his daughters and his family and all that, like I have a little girl on the way, to think about him not being able to see, them grow up. It's heartbreaking. And especially now, it's easy to feel powerless. Like you can't do anything about this, but you can at least make sure that, this financial burden, or that last, joy, that moment that you'd want to have for your family, if God forbid you're in that situation, you're able to do that. You have the power to help out. And in a really cool way too, because again, John loves D&D, we all do. And I think not only are we going to be able to take something bad and something awful and make something kind of fun and beautiful out of it, and maybe help out, but you're able to feel good about yourself too. You really feel like you have agency. You have the ability and the impact to make a difference. Don't ever feel otherwise.
Yeah, I would rather have 1,000 people donate $1 than Bill Gates show up and pay the whole thing, because then 1,000 people feel, good about being able to do something. And it we kind of, sadly, we see it all the time, and where somebody is in trouble financially because this country is screwed up, especially when it comes to medical finances, and people are able to come together and pull together and make the money not the important part. Because in a situation like this, the money shouldn't be the important thing that people focus on. The money shouldn't be the reason that this doesn't happen. That should never be the case. And so if we can worry about the money for a little bit so they don't have to, and if we can bring, whatever money we can to the table by bringing people who may not know John or his family to the table, then we will have brought our dollar, and maybe we'll bring 999 more. Also, I will be DMing, and so yes, it's a one shot with all new characters. So hey, one of those perks is you get to give some people advantage on their roles, and that includes me. So if you like playing the chaotic evil part of the campaign and still want to do good, you can donate to have me get advantage on stuff. Yay!
And that's a fun way of making a D&D game interactive. And we've done that in the past with our live D&D shows in the last couple of years at RTX and other places as such. And for those who've done it, you know exactly how it feels to be able to impact the players one way or the other. You can go Paragon or Renegade with this. It's up to you.
Yeah, and so the deal is, if you donate to their GoFundMe, you can specify. I think it's what were the amounts that we decided on?
So they're minimum donations. So if you donate more than this, you can certainly do that. There's nothing saying you can't, or you can donate multiples of these to give out multiples of them. But the first donation tier is the blessing of the gods, and that gives a player that you choose advantage on a roll, and that's something that they can use in the game. The other donation tier, $13, is a smite of the gods, and that's where Lauren gets to use a roll at advantage, and so
and by Lauren we mean
the dungeon masters and the monsters, yes.
Because the dungeon master is just making the game happen. It's the monsters that are trying to kill the player, so the monsters get advantage. I'm just being the administrator for them. That's all. So yes, you can go and donate, and you can donate in multiples, and then there will be multiple blessings or smitings, and you can donate in advance. So if you can't make the stream on Sunday, you can donate in advance. We will give you a shout out. We will be able to use your blessing or smite at the time. Certainly we would love for you to be there. And if you do donate live on, while we're streaming, we'll get your smite or your blessing in there. But definitely, this is an opportunity to be able to do some good and get involved in the stream, even if you have to watch it afterwards. We are going to post it afterwards, right? I just realized I said that. Like, it'll be on Twitch. You can watch it on the Glib Shark Twitch.
Yes, it'll be it'll be all on Twitch TV/GlibShark, and that's going to be where we're going to go to see all the stuff. So we are very excited to bring that to you guys. Let's go ahead and I want to talk a little bit about I don't know what I want to talk about. This is all really hard, guys. Like,
right.
This is a really weird situation, and
it's 10 years in broadcasting isn't going to prepare you necessarily to talk about something where it's like, I mean, I don't like asking people for money. It's just something which is weird because I find myself doing it a lot more than I'd like to. Not because I need money for my own personal needs, but for other causes and stuff like that. For instance, my church is doing a fundraiser to get a new speaker system, to new sound system for their choir and everything like that. And I gave it a shout out last week. Even that gives me the heebie-jeebies of the weirdness. But when it's something like this, when it's a community thing, I don't think of it necessarily as going hat in hand. I think of it as saying this is an opportunity to sort of, build and reinforce the community that we already have, that we are spread out across the country, all across the world, in fact. And when there's time of need for the one of us who, we see our friends, our family aren't necessarily people that are right around us. They're people that are all over. And so when there's a flashpoint like this that can bring us together, I mean, even if it's a sad flashpoint, it's an opportunity for us to otherwise wouldn't get a chance to sort of play, even not just players in the game, but the people who are donating. It's an opportunity for us to sort of, come together as a family once again in times of need, and that's kind of what family does. And friends, because friends are the family you choose. So John's been there for a lot of you guys, especially different times. I mean, I know him. He has a heart of gold, and he gives like A+ hugs. And for those of you listening who love John, this is your opportunity to be here for him.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, the charity events like this are easier to talk about in the positive sense. I mean, we're all kind of familiar with raising money for Extra Life or raising money for, some organizations that, yes, they do serious things for serious folk, but that's a little bit more of a celebratory, easier thing to celebrate.
Yeah.
This sucks. We wish we didn't have to do this. We wish all of this could just go away. And so, yeah, it sucks to think about. So I think the takeaway here is go tell the people you love them, and donate what you can, or spread the word if you can't, because that way we can tell John and his family that we love them.
Yeah, and this is just our way of doing that. I mean, I think there definitely have been some of us who have already donated, but this is something more. This is beyond the card that you get at Target. This is a gesture, and to that end, we do want people to have awareness of this GoFundMe. That is the whole point. Again, www.gofundme.com/daddydaughter'sdance. You're gonna hear that a lot, and starting tonight and going all week, we're going to be posting about it. We're going to be pointing people to the Twitch and to the GoFundMe. We're going to be introducing our characters. We have a lot of characters that we're going to be that are getting debuted here, and we're going to have a ton of fun. And you'll want to get to know them as quickly as possible, because since it's a one shot, they might not survive the encounter.
And the cool thing is, not only are you able to help out, but you're able to do it in a sort of interactive and holistic way that John would love, doing something John loves doing, and that we all love doing. So from that standpoint, it's actually kind of a lot more fun than a straight up fundraiser would be.
Oh yeah. And I think this is, like, we're in a new age of fundraisers. This isn't the telethons where you have a song and dance, although some people still do that pretty successfully. This is the age of, hey, I'm going to do all the Destiny raids without facing the boss, and that's what I'm going to do for 24 hours. Or I'm going to play a mini game in a Penn and Teller Sega CD game for literally days. Yeah. Desert Bus for Hope.
In the end, it all stems. I mean, even the telethons, it all stems from the same place. It's if I can't convince you to donate because you personally are impacted by this, maybe I can give you your money's worth in entertainment, because there will always be people out there who don't know anything about what's going on. But hey, your song and dance routine was awesome, and you said, instead of, if you like it, drop $1 into the hat. Yeah. This is modern street performers, except when you put the $1 in the hat, it goes to a worthy cause instead. And so as a performer myself, as someone who has both donated time and effort and talent and years of experience to be part of a whole variety of these kinds of fundraisers, it's a noble effort and a noble cause, especially since a lot of the time those of us who are performing, often all we have to offer is time. We don't have the money. Yeah. So yeah,
But you should feel good enough that we're good enough at D&D to busk. That's kind of what we're doing. We're
It's
D&D
busking
buskers.
for a cause. Yeah.
Yes.
God
And
bless you, Jerry Lee Lewis.
and for those who are curious how I would approach a character, I think from a recording standpoint, the only person or character you guys have seen from me is Travancore or Sterling, the proto Travancore. Like that character is sort of the one you've seen me perform for the past year and some change, 2 years or what have you. So to see me take on something completely different, no spoilers. I'll reveal it later on, but not a half elf, not an archer, something completely different.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's
I
the
will
point,
not
right?
spoil anything, but there's already some crazy characters out there. I told the players kind of the same rules that I actually give most of my players when they're deciding on characters. We just went through this about 2 months ago with my home game doing Storm King's Thunder. I said anything that is an official published race and or class from Wizards of the Coast. And by published, I include the books, the main books, including Volo's Guide and the Dungeon Master Guide and the Player's Handbook. But I also included the Elemental Evil expansion that includes, say, Aarakocra, which happened to be one of my favorite races to play. And if someone wanted to go with one of the Unearthed Arcana things, which Unearthed Arcana it's technically playtest material. It's technically not finalized, but it is official Wizards of the Coast. And my view is if they feel confident enough to put it out in some kind of official capacity, it's worth playing. So basically just not a homebrew thing. Don't come to me with something you found off of DM's Guild that I know nothing about, that I can't go to Wizards of the Coast and find information. That being said, that includes a gigantic list of dozens of races, dozens of classes, all with several subtypes in them. And I think one of the nice things about a one shot like this is you can go ahead and play something crazy just to give it a try, just to see, because there's not the weight of, well, if I try this and I don't like it, I'm kind of stuck with it. No one's stuck with anything. We're gonna play for a day, and you can go nuts. So yeah, I'm excited to see. Some of the stuff that's already come out is a little crazy.
It's like a friend of mine in high school sold me on punk and like ska and music like that this way. He said, "Well, they're all short songs, so if you like it, great. But if you don't, they'll be over soon enough."
Yep.
Yeah. So our audience for D&D may have grown by one, and so on the road, my wife and I were driving to Pittsburgh to visit family, and she listened to our first episode of D&D. And dude, so Jonathan Magimuscular made her like almost squirt milk out of her nose. She thinks you're hilarious, dude.
Yay!
Yeah.
Did she listen
yeah.
to the most recent episode?
She actually started way in the beginning, so we listened to episodes 2 and 3 because those were the first ones. And it's funny, like I remember in the beginning we had to break up episodes, and for some reason in my mind I thought that 1 and 2 was one part, and then 2 and 3 and 4 would be different parts. I figured let me start with a new story, and it ends up right in the middle of episode 3 is actually the second part of a 2-part episode. So I had to explain the whole thing with Brad and Soria, and we listened to 2 after the fact, and man, she was just loving it, especially like the whole like episode 3. Not to spoil it too much, but there is a certain part where there is a rule that I don't understand very well, and Jonathan is doing his best to explain it. But that is to say, he's exasperated to explain it. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't heard it yet, but those little misunderstandings about game mechanics, coupled with alcohol, make for a very entertaining show.
And it happens to everybody. I mean, the episodes that are up right now were 1 or 2 episodes behind where we've been recording. And I've already gotten people online who are like, hey, do you know that this spell that Bernie is using, she's not using it quite in the correct way? I'm like, it's funny you mentioned that because I figured that out like last week. And so she got away with it for a bunch of weeks, but you haven't listened to the part in where I figured out she got away with it. So yeah, I forget things all the time, or I missed stuff. And I feel like it's all okay. Nobody's expected to know all of the rules and everything and be perfect all the time, even me. And I feel like for me personally, if I make a mistake, as long as I make the mistake in a way that either leads to more fun or doesn't hurt the players, I'm okay.
And
That's kind of my philosophy.
And as the legend of D&D grows, like the mistakes that we made early on become part of the collective history of the project. Like Pensbury Manor, all those historical recreations that make mistakes in the recreation. The tour guide will actually say, well, we actually got this wrong. But it's kind of cool, so we left it.
And in the end, it's D&D, and it's Dungeons and Dragons, so whatever we say goes.
And that's the fun thing about this weekend, that we're actually getting a different group. Like, I love our group. I love our party and everything like that, but we're playing with some people you may not have heard recorded before, may not have heard in the setting. To see those personalities bounce off of each other, I'm going to be really excited to see how that plays out.
Me too. I'm always happy to DM for new people, especially in a low-ish stress situation like this. Like, yeah, we're doing this for a cause, and there's a purpose, and there's a reason, and we're going to try to be on top of our game. But as far as like the weight of I want to be able to continue to play this for more than just today, like that's a very freeing thing. One shots are very open for everybody involved to do all sorts of stuff. So in fact, I just said yes to somebody asked yesterday if they could be a certain type of character that most of the time I would actually say no to in a group that I was trying to make sure was cohesive. But I said, you know what? We're only playing for a couple hours and it's still one shot. So sure, I don't care. Go for it.
And there's nothing to stop someone from going like full on kamikaze if that's what the mission calls for. Because hey, it's just a one-time thing. Like
in D&D, there's no bad death. There is only the only bad death is one that isn't epic. And you know what? Any death can be epic if you try. So yeah, if someone's like, to save the group, I'm gonna suicide grunts into this. Then sure, yeah, I will make it the most epic death ever. We bards will be born singing your praises. It will happen. A bard will appear in the game and start to sing the tale of your epic saving of the party death. I promise that.
Oh man.
Uh-oh. Jonathan has a ukulele.
I do.
Whoa. That is so weird, like, to be able to play off of each other visually. And by the way, we normally record this and we're all naked when we record. It's just something we do. We just happen to be wearing clothes today, so there we go. So we, as strong as we are just playing off of each other's voices, I can actually see like things on your face, so it's cool to be able to play off of facial expressions that way too. And see stuff in the background.
For dungeon drunks, we play with we play using Skype and Roll20. And Roll20 is awesome. And Roll20 actually has its own video audio player in it, but we were having some difficulties with it, so we switched over to Skype just to make sure that it was easy to see each other and hear each other. And that alleviates a lot of the issues of not being in the same room.
And one of the cool things is, yes, nominally this is a one-time thing. These characters sort of go away forever. But D&D is such a weird thing where we're only a Superboy dimension punch away from maybe seeing one of these surviving characters at some point. Or maybe they come from the reality where the character survived and they previously died.
It's funny, like I'm not playing in the game. That may change, and I do have a character as a backup that very well may come and play, but I have a druid that I wanted to play because I just started reading about druids and they're badass, and he is definitely someone that could cross over to another game should one of my characters die. And I don't think you have to worry about Jonathan the Magic Muscular because well, he's pretty invincible. I mean, I gotta say, nothing can touch him. He says as his DM is sitting right over there. But
that fireball, though.
Wasn't it just a few minutes ago we were talking about an episode in where Travancore was talking in circles about
that was not something that happened.
Nope.
But it
squishy wizards never die.
They never do. It wouldn't be my
Nope.
it wouldn't be my first wizard actual death, but or my last, or my third.
My
Oh
last
fuck! I've
character,
killed lots of wizards. What the fuck?
my final character in a 4th edition game was a dragonborn dragon sorcerer, because you can't have too many dragons in your title. Did I ever tell you about Makor?
Uh-uh.
All right, I'll make this short and sweet and to the point. 4th edition, by the end of 4th edition, things got crazy, yo. And there was a way to make a character who was a dragon sorcerer, and if he was dragonborn, without going into all the details, dragonborn can do this breath attack, and it's pretty powerful. And the way they mitigated that is you can usually only do it once a day, except there was this fun way in 4th edition in where if you were like a not even a high level, you could make it so that if you took damage that was the same type as your dragon breath, you would recharge your dragon breath. And then you could do this other thing in where when you breathed, you would breathe on everybody, and then your friends would take damage. I was like, oh, whoopsie. Except you could take this feat in where you could choose to take the damage instead of your friends. So
That
essentially,
sounds suspiciously like Bishop from the X-Men.
Makor, if I was being polite, was making sure that his friends were okay and using it to his advantage. If I was being naughty, he was essentially hurting himself to make things go. Because what he would do is he would run in, he'd breathe on everybody, he would take the damage off of his friends, and because he took damage of his same breath type, he'd get his breath back. So he wouldn't really cast a lot of spells like he would, but his main thing was he would run in and just breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe. He was ridiculous. He was absolutely ridiculous. And then there was ways of mitigating that damage, but he was still taking damage all the time. So Makor came very close to dying a lot. And his death, because he did die in the end, he took a final death. He died fighting a dragon, and was the last person in his party who died. Everybody else had fallen over and died, and he had the opportunity to run away and decided that it was better to go in doing what he did best, which was breathing on shit. So he died as he lived, hurting himself so that he could breathe on shit. He was epic.
Wow.
He was ridiculous, but he was epic. I wish there was a way to make him a tank. He would have been unstoppable, but he had to be a sorcerer. So, yeah, squishy tanks. He was excellent. I miss him. I still have his mini up there on my shelf.
Aw.
Hi, Makor. Right now, I don't have a character. I just realized that. Like, I'm DMing everywhere. This is the first time in a while.
Wow.
Also, apparently my tea is ready.
2 things to think about, not just one. 1, you have no D&D character. 2, your tea is ready. Things you could only learn on Glib Shark.
Okay.
So we know when we're doing this event, and we know how we can help out and chip in, and we know what we're doing it for. What other information, I'm trying to think, do we need going into this this grand adventure we're having?
I am looking at that here. Sorry, I cannot type and talk at the same time. But I think all of that information is there now. One peculiarity of all this is normally if we had a fundraising page, we would say, hey, go ahead and if you buy a Blessing of the God for $5 or a Smite of the God at $13, we'd say in your donation, put which player that's for. In the case of the Blessing of the Gods, please do not do that. The GoFundMe page is their family GoFundMe page. John so far is the only one that knows that we're doing this, and I actually just told him. And let me go ahead and read his response here. After I tweeted our intentions, fuck you, you made me cry.
Oh.
Oh.
Sounds like something that's him. That's definitely something he would say.
He rolled a 1 on his Constitution saving throw.
Right.
Wait, Constitution is what you'd use to save against crying?
I guess it depends. Maybe will.
Oh, I'm about to say.
Except there's not a willpower anymore in 5th edition, so I
It's
went
just
Constitution.
Constitution.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Because
Travancore, I know
Constitution
it's
Isn't
would
saving.
be
there a
what
will
you would
save?
use. Yeah, I guess there is. No, I'm not. You know what? It's not will. It's Constitution because I feel like it's the kind of thing in where it's trying to hold back a physical response, and that's Constitution.
See, so
I'm
it's
the
like,
DM. I say, yeah, there you go.
so it's like, damn it, Jenga, do not cry.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Damn it.
17. Jenga does not cry.
But
Yeah,
anyway, to more to my point, this is a GoFundMe page that is something that we're not running. So, what we request people do, and as we post about it on Facebook, which will hopefully be soon, right, Jack?
Yeah, I should get something, if not today, then early tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Just because it's a little late on my end.
Let's make sure we get that. And one thing we're gonna go over is that if you do donate and you do want to donate in the name of the stream and get some of these stream perks, wherever you saw that in, whether it was on a Facebook post or on Red versus Blue, or roosterteeth.com, I guess, please indicate in that space what you want to have happen. Don't put it in the stream or in the donation page. Go ahead and let us know. And before the game, we're going to go to all these different places. Everyone's going to kind of report in what they've gotten, and then we'll go from there. On the day, let us know in the Twitch chat. I'm going to be monitoring that. I'm going to be monitoring our Twitter, and I'm going to be monitoring as many other places as I can. And I'll be providing some of that engagement. I'll be saying, "Hey, so and so donated, and they give points to Lori. She now has an extra blessing of the god." Or, "Oh, so and so is a jerk, and now the DM has a smite of the gods," and stuff like that.
they're not being a jerk. They're being fair and donating to a worthy cause.
Yes.
No, you are not being a jerk. You are evening the odds.
Yes, because classically, a lot more of the blessings have gone through than the smites. So yes, evening out the odds is definitely good. But let us know in those spaces if you can. Let's allow. This is so fucking weird because, like, with these charity things, it's someone you don't know that you're trying to help, but this is someone we do know. So I think the GoFundMe page can be a place for more somber messages, more heartfelt messages. But let us know, like, if you do donate and you want some of these perks in this D&D game, let us know what you've gotten, and then we'll go ahead and act on it.
It's pretty impressive. Like, we got a good hour in before we had anything even remotely resembling dead air.
I think Jonathan summed it up pretty nicely, and I think the only other thing we can say is, we love you.
John, I hope you're listening to this. We do love you. This is something that I have to give credit where credit's due. Lori came up with this idea, and I'm really, really glad she did.
Yeah.
You have a lot of friends that are rolling with this. And all of our hearts are with you and your family, and this is just our little way of helping.
Yeah. Our sound producer is Jonathan, little way of helping Serna.
Aw.
I'll not say anything this time.
Yeah, there we go. You get one you actually kind of like.
Well, let's not go nuts.
All right, enough feelings and emotionality. We all passed our Constitution saving throw. So you may have heard some words at the beginning of this broadcast. That's from Bob Ball, our announcer and a voice actor. You may have heard some music at the beginning and the end of the show. That's from our dear buddy Linnea Boyev. And you have spent another hour listening to Glib Shark, and we thank you for it. So on behalf of Jonathan, Lauren, and the entire Glib Shark staff, and this time everyone behind Heroes of... God, I'm blanking out on this now.
Heroes of the Heart.
Heroes of the Heart. Thank you. This is Jack Edithel saying good night, good health, and...
We love you.
Yes, that's actually the perfect. We love you. All right. Another one in the can. What